decay, stone, blood. I picked my way around a discarded shopping trolley and tried to avoid looking at a large paw print in the dust. One of them had been here recently. The drops of blood surrounding the print were still fresh enough for me to smell the coppery tang. Human. As I descended the stairs to platform level, my palm skimmed over the remaining chipped and pitted cream and maroon tiles that covered the walls, a grim reminder that this mausoleum was once a thriving hub of urban transportation. The light of my torch caught an entire set of paw prints, and the jagged pits at the end where claws had dug into the steps. I swallowed, throat dry. Of course they ventured up this far. The busted sconces were proof. They couldn't always sit around and wait for some stupid human to come to them. They had to hunt. Still, the sight of those prints and the lingering scent of human blood made my chest tight. I wasn't a coward. My being here was proof of that, and perhaps proof positive of my lack of intelligence. Everyone, aristocrat, half-blood, and human, was afraid of goblins. You'd be mental not to be. They were fast and ferocious, and didn't seem to have any sense of morality holding them back. If aristos were fully plagued, then goblins were overly so, though such a thing wasn't really possible. Technically there were aristocrats, but no one would ever dare call them such. To do so was as much an insult to them as to aristos. They were mutations, and terribly proud of it. Images flashed in my head, memories that played out like disjointed snippets from a film. Fur, gnashing fangs, yellow eyes, and blood. That was all I remembered of the day I was attacked by a gob right here in this very station. My history class from the academy had come here on a field trip. The gobs stayed away from us because of the treaty. At least they were supposed to stay away. But one didn't listen, and it picked me. If it hadn't been for church, I would have died that day. That was when I realized goblins weren't stories told to children to make us behave. It was also the day I realized that if I didn't do everything in my ability to prove them wrong, people would think I was defective somehow, weak, because a goblin tried to take me. I hadn't set foot in Down Street Station since then. If it weren't for my sister Dee Dee's disappearance, I wouldn't have gone down there at all. Avery and Val thought I was overreacting. Dee Dee had taken off on us before, so it was hardly shocking that she wasn't answering her rotary, or that the message box on said gadget was full. But in the past she had called me to let me know she was safe. She always called me. I had exhausted every other avenue. It was as though Dee Dee had fallen off the face of the earth. I was desperate, and there was only one option left. Goblins. Gobs knew everything that happened in London, despite rarely venturing above ground. Somehow they had found a way to spy on the entire city, and no one seemed to know just what that was. I reckon anyone who had the bollocks to ask didn't live long enough to share it with the rest of us. It was dark, not because the city didn't run electric lines down here anymore. They did, but because the lights had been smashed. The beam from my small, handheld torch caught the grimy glitter of the remains of at least a half a dozen bulbs on the ground amongst the refuse. The bones of a human hand lay surrounded by the shards, cupping the jagged edges in a dull, dry palm. I reached for the .50 caliber British bulldog normally holstered snugly against my ribs, but it wasn't there. I'd left it at home. Walking into the plague den with a firearm was considered an act of aggression unless one was there on the official, which I wasn't. Aggression was the last thing, next to fear, you wanted to show in front of one goblin, let alone an entire plague. It was like wearing a sign reading dinner around your neck. It didn't matter that I had plague blood as well. I was only a half-blood, the result of a vampire aristocrat, the term that had come to be synonymous with someone of noble descent who was also plagued, and a human courtesan doing the hot and sweaty. Science considered goblins the ultimate birth defect, but in